to our next game. All right, Katowice, let's make some noise. Down here in the bottom left from Korea, he is Maru. His opponent in the upper right in the blue from China, he is Oliveira.
Tasteless, you can see that the crowd is absolutely packed. So many StarCraft fans coming together here in Katowice. You guys are fantastic.
Yeah, it's so good to be down here and casting these games to you guys. And what a hell of a finals.
Yeah.
So, going into this next game, we have to remember that Maru does not have the luxury of trying any kind of weird all-ins or throwaway builds. One thing about a best of 7 is the bigger range you get in score. Like, let's say that you're up 3-0, right? And you just have to win one more game to win that best of 7. Well, then you can start doing really weird all-ins. You can throw a couple in because even if it doesn't work, okay, fine, then I'll go back and I'll play a macro game in the next game. But when you're down 1-3, you have to basically make every perfect decision for how you're going to open up.
Yes, yes, and that's so tough, right? You can't actually account for everything. If your opponent is willing to take a couple risks, there's an area where you're going to be weak, and they might be able to find that out. Now, as of right now, looks like we are just going to have a Reaper expansion coming down here from Oliveira, whereas it is a Reaper into Factory here on Maru.
Remember that these games have been extremely explosive. Oftentimes with Maru actually the first to act. Like that last game that we saw back there, the tank tucked into the medevac along with a couple of Marines and moving out. That's not a normal build. We don't see that in all the TVTs. This seems to be something new he's been tinkering with. And in one of the games, that was how he actually beat Oliveira. But where does Maru want to take a game like this now? TVT, it does seem like you can't really be too passive in it. You have to be fairly active on the map. Counterattacks are so dangerous because Stim Marines in small numbers are so deadly and medevacs make them so mobile.
Also, if your opponent gets a strong position on you, if you're just kind of sitting there and they run up and siege near a command center, you're going to lose that area. Like, you're not going to be able to break an equal amount of units that are already positioned. So that does make it so that there's a lot of roaming about, a lot of little scuffles where you try to gain that edge, keep your opponent off your back, and maybe sneak into their side of the map.
For now, it looks like Maru's just going to go for a 1-1-1, just about to finish up his starport as the factory's producing Hellions and the barracks is producing Marines. Maru is going to just take a peek up here with the Reaper. Oliveira is ready to swat that away.
Doing a good job so far. He's got that bunker in the front. He was blocking the Reaper jump in. Maru just gets a little bit of information, but doesn't know too much about exactly what's going on in Oliveira's base.
So the first tank comes out. The medevac is almost done. I'm curious if Maru is going to go on the move again. And if he's going to try to be aggressive. He doesn't have to, right? But a lot of times with the first medevac, you see players do something. It's the same build. Same build as before.
Yeah. He's really liking this build. Very similar builds at least, going 1-1 so far. But with his life on the line, he's decided, let's do this again.
This is really interesting. You don't normally see Maru stick with the same build unless it's, proxy racks a couple games in a row.
Yeah, sure.
So I guess he wants to try to hit the main. Okay, but you see Oliveira's already ready. He's got a siege tank up there.
Not just a siege tank, a Viking Tasteless to help push away that medevac. And as Maru sees it, he boosts out of there. But look, he didn't lose a lot of units. He lost like a Reaper, so it's not the end of the world what just happened there.
This is fine. This is totally fine because he manages to keep the medevac alive. It can be used later on. A Raven's being made. He might try to incorporate that with the next little jab in.
Yeah, Maru is bringing all of his units to the front there once again. Going to siege up on this bunker. So, that's a little bit annoying for Oliveira. He's going to go ahead, unload the bunker. Maybe he'll sell it as well. But Maru, like, are you going to get real damage right there? I don't think so. He's rotating around. He's trying to apply some pressure here to his opponent.
And one thing to note is that, that might have looked kind of like a bit of a weird skirmish, like he sieged up, shot the bunker, and backed up. He's actually taken a third base. So, he's generating the illusion of threats. And then he's going to pull back.
Yeah, it's a smart way to play, right?
Absolutely. Medevac going to come in here now. I believe there's one Hellion in here.
I think that's probably more for scouting than anything else. He does get to see basically what's going on. He sees that additional command center being built. So some good information here for Maru. He's traded a few units here and there to learn these things, and that's why he is down in supply a bit. But I don't think it's a big issue this game. This doesn't feel like the last 3 games that we saw. It's not like he's super far behind or anything.
Yeah, and I actually think this is so far the best game we've seen from Maru. But we need to see, now that it's Oliveira's turn, with his later expansion, he's going to have an opportunity to attack. How is Maru going to handle it? Most of Maru's losses have been backfired, aggression. This is a totally different situation.
And he's coming up right now. Oliveira is for that same type of attack that he wants to make. But when he scans here, I don't think he's going to go in. Like, it's basically the same units from Maru that Oliveira has. So, again, to attack into something like that is incredibly difficult.
He's chasing that Cyclone, which is going to be pulling around here. Again, you want to watch those Ravens. They could try to shut down the tanks. Both players have that opportunity on either side. Oliveira unsieges again. Maru looks like he's going to try to set up a line of defense over here. Oliveira doesn't have to try to come in, but it looks like he might try to tiptoe these tanks forward.
Yeah, it sets up a little siege right here. That's going to be a little bit annoying. It looks like he's hitting the command center when he does get vision of it, right? So the tanks can shoot a little bit further than they can see, which is an important thing to keep in mind. That's why Vikings become so powerful. That Raven takes quite a bit of damage. Oliveira unsieging, deciding to go forward. He throws down the auto turrets. I don't know if this is going to end up working, but he does go forward. Maru pulling his SCVs, going forward with those Marines immediately. And will Oliveira actually be able to hold this position?
Yeah, the target firing there from Maru was just too good. He realized what's happening with the auto turrets and just target fired over the top. But you know what? These tanks are starting to get a little bit lower here, Artosis.
Yeah, Oliveira landing those Vikings down. They do deal a lot of damage to siege tanks, but somehow Maru keeps 3 tanks at very low health alive. That is a net win to Maru, I would say.
Oh, huge win there. Had he lost the tanks, it would have been more of a trade, but good juggling there with the medevacs. It's interesting to see that, Oliveira has an alternative approach to trying to break certain siege tank lines where he does use the auto turrets over the disable.
Yeah.
And, a lot of that, the burden then becomes on the defending player to manually target with the siege tanks over. Just let the, the tank default into whatever is going to be closest to them.
Well, right now, Maru deciding it's time to move out across the map. He probably is feeling pretty good about his position right now. He's been mining from that third base a little bit longer than Oliveira has had his. He's got those siege tanks as well that stayed alive during the fight. So here we go. He's going to move up. He scans. No tanks here. This is a problem for Oliveira.
Yeah, Oliveira's looking pretty weak right now. The bunker is taken out. I see one siege tank on the low ground, and that's not going to be there for very long.
Oh, man. Actually, Maru kind of overcommits with his Marines there, I want to say. That diving in on those tanks, he did deal a lot of damage to them, but he didn't quite kill them off. He lost a lot of Marines, and I think he has to back up.
Yeah, that was a bit of a lackluster attack. It didn't seem like there was much, much follow-up with that. He's going to try to pick off this one tank. Now, he could target the Vikings. Vikings are very slow at running away on the ground. But Maru is just overextending here, Artosis.
It feels like he tried to lay a trap there with that one tank. The Vikings landed, he stemmed up to try to get them. But Oliveira was pretty quick. He stemmed down, fought those Marines off a little bit, and saved a couple Vikings. So probably a good trade for him there.
So I would say Oliveira, not in a great spot this game, but Maru hasn't really been able to leverage his position. And honestly, there were some pretty bad moves, pretty bad plays tactically there from Maru outside of Oliveira's base. It looks like Maro's going to come around here and try to hit over here at the third. He's going to stim in now. I see 3 siege tanks here for Oliveira.
Let's see what Maro can get done. He targets one of them down immediately. Oh my gosh, stimming forward here. He gets another one. He will have to pull back the rest of his Marines here. A lot of them end up dying. Oliveira going with a counterattack towards that third base. Maro sees it coming and he lifts off. He's trying to run out, but a lot of SCVs going down.
He's taken out so many. He's now going to try to fight those Marines, and he does manage to take them out as well. A big interruption here for the income of Maru.
Oh, Maru comes down with his SCVs to fight with some Marines as well. Vikings pushing back the medevac, but loses quite a few SCVs. He does drop down below Oliveira's economy for now.
The tanks are now going to be pulled back. Big victory there for a very small attack from Oliveira. 16 SCVs have been killed.
Yeah, oh man, this game definitely a lot closer than the others though. Maru right now setting up that fourth base location with a planetary so that it's going to be able to defend itself a little bit. Now we're watching the first person view here of Maru, spreading out his siege tanks, sieging them up, trying to keep an eye on anywhere that Oliveira could attack him.
Yeah, you can see he's so fast, so efficient. He is ahead in a base, by the way, so that's very comfortable for him. He's got an extra income. Oliveira is actually backed off. You know, he's needs to continue to try to keep growing here and moving out on the map, because if you're on 3 bases versus 4 and you stay on 3 bases, either you need to be attacking and winning, or you need to be double expanding yourself.
Well, I think Oliveira may have just taken his own 4th base there. We saw a sensor tower go up. Maru saw that as well. So trying to catch up. Looks like Maru kind of roaming the map here once again. Yeah, there is that 4th command center. It's not done quite yet, but very, very close. With the sensor towers there, though, it's very hard to attack. Your opponent will see you coming.
There is a blind spot for both players here in the middle of the map. It looks like Oliveira may end up having an encounter here with Maru, stimming and coming in, but a flank over here on the side from Maru. Reinforcements for Oliveira coming down the ramp.
Now Oliveira stimming up. He has a ton of Marines here, and in fact, he will start to beat the Marines, but the siege tanks adding so much firepower here. Oliveira loses a lot of Marines, but so does Maru.
Quite the exchange there. Maru decides to go back and lick his wounds. Some more tanks are going to unsiege over here as well. Oliveira, yeah, unsure of where to go now. He certainly doesn't want to try to push in any further. I think that would have been a pretty egregious overextension.
One thing I do want to mention, Oliveira actually getting his 3-3 Marine upgrades before Maru does. So that's something that will, you know, help him out quite a bit when he gets them. If you're up in upgrades, your Marines will fight far, far better. But of course, siege tanks going to be a key element of those attacks as well.
Both sides are doing a great job with keeping up with their tech. Upgrades are getting pretty crazy. The tank count overall is actually a lot better for Maru. Now, that being said, you know, tanks are pretty brittle versus Marines if they ever get, you know, exposed in a spot where the Marines can gun them down. So if Oliveira is going to try to, you know, come out ahead, we want to watch and see if he can get any good tank snipes. That being said, it looks like Maru's actually gearing up for a push.
Yeah.
Trying to come up and hit this base over here right now.
That's really scary. That's a huge army from Maru. He is up in army supply by about 20 right now. And Oliveira has a little group of Marines to the sides. That is not going to be too useful in this fight right now.
Yeah, he's not. Oh, I see what he's doing. He's going to unsiege these tanks over here. He's going to go around up onto the high ground and start to shell this base. Now we can see these Marines over here in the picture-in-picture. They do take out this command center.
Yeah, but Maru is shelling a lot over here as well. Oliveira, though, clearing those tanks with a double medevac drop. Very well done on defense. And suddenly, the game looks pretty even.
Yeah. You know, it is a funny thing. Sometimes the much smaller counterattack does way more damage than the big heavy push. And that was one of those moments. I think Maru lost a decent amount of tanks. Is it possible that the tank count is actually ahead here for Oliveira? It is 10-6. He is in the lead. That is
a big deal. That is a big deal. 6 tanks will still do a good job defensively, and they're going to have to, because Oliveira looks to be getting ready to attack. He's coming down. Maru backs up down a ramp. That is a very choked off area, so it would be hard for Oliveira to attack there.
Okay, he's going to try to come up onto the high ground. He scans again. And Oliveira, I think, is being pretty smart. He doesn't want to be in a position where he can ever overextend, so he backs up. And Maru also pulls away as well, I think wisely so.
Yeah, there is a lot of heavy army movement right now around the map. If you lose track of where your opponent's Marines and tanks are, you can die very, very quickly. That's why we're seeing these scans over and over, just double checking. Are you sitting there sieged? Are you moving around? Which direction are you going into? These are incredibly important things that they must keep track of.
Command center going to be planted over here at 12 o'clock. We're about to get to the 5th base up here for Oliveira, but Mauro has plans to try to deny that. He's sieging up here on the low ground and scanning and hitting Oliveira's tanks.
Yeah, that's a very good siege there from Mauro, picking off a couple tanks almost for free. Still roaming, looking like he wants to deny the space, but I don't think that he can, right? Like, Oliveira has a lot of tanks on the high ground. His Marine force, very strong as well. In fact, both sides are maxed out with 3/3 upgrades on their Marines and +2 attack on their tanks.
Yeah, both players are basically growing up into the upper left corner of the map. Oliveira's position is a little bit more of a triangle here in the top right, where it seems like Mauro is kind of going more up into a straight line. But as I say that, he also expands down into 6 o'clock. And let's not forget, Mauro is very scary when it comes to these huge, intense macro games. He's very good at growing, pushing, and continuing to have good production.
He's incredibly fast, so that is definitely the case. Now, a little double medevac drop here. Picks off a few of those tanks, going to kill a couple turrets and whatnot, gets rid of the sensor tower. An okay move there from Mauro, just trying to keep pressure on once again.
Mauro with a big attack over here. The tank is gunned down immediately. Is he going to try to shove in? No, he backs up and relocates, suffering very little losses.
I love these moves that we're seeing from Mauro. He's actually starting to spend some of his Marine force. He's sending them in on these little missions that he knows that they're going to get destroyed during. And that's allowing him to attack towards the end game. You can see now a lot of starports are up. He's making a lot of Ravens. He's getting more Vikings. He's adding more starports. Because these, as the game gets longer, become more and more important.
He's going to shell down these rocks over here, trying to make the map a little bit more open so he can maybe have some more opportunities to hit. But I got to tell you, man, Mauro is getting very scary as far as growth. We're having four Liberators at a time now come out here for Oliveira. That's pretty wild.
Yeah, a Liberator range as well. So Oliveira is going to try to break some tank lines. But will he have more Vikings? He's got 15 to 10. That's a big deal. Mauro's Raven usage is going to have to be very strong if he wants to hold this incoming push.
Okay, he scans over here. And this is going to be a hard position to push into, Artosis. He does gun down the first Viking.
We have some great armor shreds going down. The Vikings going to town on each other. But right now, Oliveira does have more. Bringing forward those very important Liberators we were talking about. He's going to force some of these tanks to unsiege and move back.
Yeah, between the tanks and the Liberators, he can start to leapfrog forward here and try to crack open this position from Mauro. We're seeing a lot of tanks get gunned down, Artosis.
We really are. The Liberator's so great at breaking these positions. Still, he has to keep more Vikings. The Viking count very close on both sides. Mauro trying to hold on right now as Oliveira tries to push forward, kills another tank with the Liberators, going after another one as well.
The tanks continue to come down. It seems to be working. I think Mauro's going to lose his base. More Marines come in here, and they stem to break in.
Oh, he's going to be able to pick that off so quickly. An armor shred goes down on his Marines, but he continues to fight, chasing Mauro back.
One base goes down, but Mauro has so many more. He's now expanding over into the very far bottom right. He has 6 o'clock, as we can see over here. Where does he try to go? Mauro has to try to remake his tanks. He has to get some kind of unit composition to address the threats that Oliveira is creating.
Mauro only has 2 tanks right now, Tasis, and only 2 factories. This is a terrible situation. He must keep those tanks alive. Oliveira continues to push him back, controlling the pace of this game.
He's going to try to come in again. He does gun down some of those Vikings. The Vikings trying to pick off the medevacs if they can. There's a planetary here. SCVs can repair, but they need to stay behind.
Yeah, this is really rough, though. With that many siege tanks, he's going to lose the planetary as well. Mauro massing up outside of his natural. He's lost control of these 2 bases. That's very painful, but he's still got a lot of supply. He's got a lot of SCVs. He's got a big army. He still has a chance in this game.
Maro's going to try to come down and engage with this army that's over here. A big pickup. He's going to go into the main. He's going to dive on the infrastructure. Meanwhile, Maro does get the disables in, inches in with the tanks, and starts to pick off the position Oliveira has.
Oh, I love this drop from Oliveira, though. Nothing in here for Maro. He does bring up a couple siege tanks, but a lot of his reactors getting picked off, and then Oliveira gets out of the area. He's just hurting the production of Maru.
The SCVs that fled the 6 o'clock position are now mining over here in the very far bottom right, but this base is going to go down as well. Oliveira continuing to grow. He's actually expanded just one screenshot north of where we were a second ago.
Oh my gosh, yeah, Oliveira getting more bases at this point, still controlling the map, still shelling down Maru bases. I think right now he feels it. He's getting closer and closer to being the world champion.
Yeah, the command center's getting so low. A big push here in the middle of the map. Maro trying to fight back. I don't see very Marines to defend. I think Maro might be able to break into this position.
You might be right about that. Oh, but it looks like Oliveira coming back at the side with his army. Gets a great armor shred off. And here we go. Disables on all these tanks. Maru breaking through.
He's coming through. He's just destroying this position right on top of these starports. Another siege tank comes up. Maro's going to have to try to move his tanks in a little bit further. But if he missteps, Oliveira can dive in and take those all out.
That's right. Look at these Vikings of Oliveira. He's trying to fight right now. And in fact, he does have more Vikings. The armor shred goes down, but I don't know that that will be enough. I think he's going to win this air battle, and Maru may have to flee once again.
Yeah, I think even with the weakened Vikings, you just have too many. It's just a game of math right now. And without those Vikings, it's very hard to spot for your own tanks.
Not just that, as soon as he won the Viking battle, 4 more Liberators. He's going to use those to push those tanks back. But in the meantime, Maru rotating his army to the side will kill off another base.
He tries to come in and dive on that tank, but there's too many Marines. He might be able to protect it. More tanks coming up right now here for Oliveira.
Oh, some great disables go down. Picks off a couple more siege tanks as well. The Liberators come forward, but Maru so quick with his unsiege, backing up. And now he's going to do to Oliveira what Oliveira did to him. He can pick off even more bases.
Yeah, I mean, there's just so much of the map that Oliveira has right now.
He actually didn't know that base was taken, Tasos. He could have killed that.
He doesn't even realize how behind he is right now.
Oh, no. Bad news for Maru.
Yeah, he doesn't know about this base over here in the bottom right as well.
Well, he's going to go somewhere. Let's see if he checks. He stims some Marines up. He sees the planetary. This is certainly something that Maru can attack.
Yeah, Oliveira is going to go for a counterattack here. You know, when you're ahead in bases, sometimes the counterattack with everything can be a little bit stronger because the person who's doing the initial attack just has more locations they have to try to wipe out.
Yeah, that does occur. Oh, a quick pickoff right there from Oliveira. He's doing a massive counterattack. He's going to Maru's main base.
He's going to go in here and kill all the factories and barracks.
This is really bad news for Maru as these tanks come up for Oliveira. He sets up some beautiful Liberators as well, saying, no, you can't siege there. Maru has to walk all the way around, but is this breakable?
He has all the tanks disabled here. The Marines are going to come down and fight. They're all going to get thinned out. And now the tanks get destroyed in an insane moment.
That is perhaps the best break I have ever seen from an invincible position. Maru making some magic, keeping himself in the game, but just barely so.
Way down right now. Oliveira basically lost his main army. He's really hurting. But again, the income is so high, he can start to try to remake that. But Artosis, I'm blown away at the skill that Maru exhibited there. I thought that was going to be the neck-breaking move to get in the main with those siege tanks, but he handled it perfectly.
I don't think anyone else in the world could have lived through that. That was the most beautiful positional play I've ever seen. But Oliveira continues to have an advantage, way more supply. Maru moving up through the map. It's hard to even keep track of how many bases they have at this point. There are command centers going up and going down everywhere as these two just pummel each other.
It looks like already Oliveira has managed to remake most of his army. The tank count is certainly going to be lower, though. And so we're going to need to see, how he tries to handle this. For the time being, though, it looks like Maru growing into the bottom center. He's looking pretty healthy. Oliveira's actually taken the very upper left corner. I feel like I don't even remember when that base was taken out, but now he's got it. So they traded spots. There's actually been so much action happening on the map.
Yeah, a lot of back and forth with these expansions. The Liberator's being used for some harassment as well. Maru is going to clean that up. And Maru is really focusing very, very heavily on this Raven production. His Raven spellcasting is going to be so key, both in defense and in breaking other locations.
Oliveira.
Hold on, those tanks, they went the wrong way, and Oliveira instantly jumps on them.
Oh my God, they're trying to get back, but they can't, and so many are picked off. Siege mode is up. Does he have enough? Medevac's covering most of this fight.
It's hard to say even what's going on here, but Oliveira takes it. Oliveira is the world champion.
Katowice, give it up for Oliveira. He is your Intel Extreme Masters World